Thank you, Mr. Amador. Thank you, President, and my colleagues here today. I believe I wear my mask, but I believe I'll be following the CDC guidelines. So as I move forward with this, because my glasses are getting all fogged up, and I want to make sure I can see everybody I'm talking to here in the room, and we're well distanced here socially. So I think it'll be all right. Right now, there's only about 10 of us in the room. As I move forward, Mr. President, and my colleagues, with this appeal of this warranted, important, and certainly generic and germane amendment, I want to first and foremost wish my colleagues on both sides of the aisle well, their families, their constituents, my constituents in the 49th Senate District, which are concerned about what's happening in our long-term health care facilities and our nursing homes, and thank them and their constituents, New Yorkers, for their resiliency. This was 5 months of not just a health crisis, but we know we're in the midst of an economic crisis right now. And this particular amendment is germane because it directly relates to the bill in chief. The bill in chief says we're going to enhance some liabilities for our long-term health care facilities. Were kind of reduced and minimized when both majorities in this House and in the Assembly passed the governor's budget. And none of my colleagues, of course, on our side of the aisle voted for that particular budget in the Assembly or the Senate. And what this amendment would do, if we put it forward, if there is going to be more liability and more blame, we should know who the responsibilities are for what took place with a lot of individuals who were a part of the tragedy that has taken place in New York State. 32 to 34, I'm not exactly sure what the numbers are, New Yorkers lost their lives. But the tragedy within that tragedy of that loss of life, and one loss of life for New Yorkers is too many, was our most vulnerable population in our long-term care facilities had an inordinate amount of loss of life due to the coronavirus. It's been speculated, and I call it speculation, that 6,400 nursing home patients lost their life in New York State. Now, I speculate on that because most of the states count those individuals in nursing homes who contracted the virus, but then got so sick they had to go to a hospital and passed away at a hospital. I don't believe New York State has done that. So we really don't know the numbers, and there's speculation it could be double that. Could be 12,000, could be 13,000 individuals. This amendment relates to the bill in chief because it provides us an outside, independent, bipartisan, nonpartisan, takes politics to the best we can out of any suggestion by the administration or anybody else that it was either the CDC, the president, the federal government, the long-term health care facilities themselves, or now what the administration has settled on, it's the blame of the health care workers in those facilities. We can probably name those he hasn't blamed for this wildfire that's taking place in those facilities, other than the people he has blamed. But the fact of the matter is, you can't run away from the facts. We need this amendment for this outside, independent, nonpartisan, non-political investigation, not only so we can get those numbers, not only so we can check on the regulations and the oversight that the state should have had and the nursing homes work that they should have done, but actually what orders that took place from this executive level actually might have impacted what took place in these facilities. That's why this is germane. It should coincide. If you're going to add liability, where's the liability fall? Now, on March 12th, we probably all know that the governor put forth an executive order. He put forth an executive order that no friends, family, or loved ones shall enter a nursing home to visit their loved ones in the nursing home. Now, he could have said you'll go to a separate room, you'll follow CDC guidelines, you'll be tested before you go in there, there's one person in a room. He, I guess, erred, he thought, on the side of safety. No loved ones would visit. That's kind of being loosened up right now, not to the extent maybe that it should be. That was March 12th. On March 25th, the administration and the executive put another executive order out. And this executive order said, would require nursing homes to accept COVID-19 patients being discharged. And nursing homes would be barred from testing those individuals as they entered the nursing homes. Now, there's a disconnect there. I don't have to have hearings on anything. I don't have to have an investigation. To be concerned about the fact that on 2 weeks before, he said, you're mandated to take these individuals who have the virus into nursing homes. 2 weeks before that, he said, no family members whatsoever can visit the nursing homes. There's a disconnect there. I think most people would agree. But then as more and more and more of this wildfire built up, 6,400 patients, that's an estimate, I believe it's much beyond it, into May, going towards the middle of May. In May 10th, the governor did something else that doesn't make sense. All the way from that 25th executive order to place them in the nursing homes, COVID-19 diagnosed patients, he was saying that did not cause the expansion of the wildfire in those long-term health care facilities or the nursing home. Over and over and over. I bet you could count 15 to 20 times. It did not cause the expansion. My executive order to place them into nursing homes with COVID-19. On May 10th, he gave another executive order. You know what that executive order was? And this is the disconnect. May 25th, you're mandated to put them in. March 25th, rather, you're mandated to put them in the facilities. May 10th, you may not put a COVID-19 diagnosed patient into a nursing home. But from March 25th to May 10th, never caused any wildfire, didn't cause the expansion of the loss of life in the nursing home. That's a disconnect. Now, I appreciate the governor, through his appointed commissioner from the Department of Health, and through the individuals who he hires with the health department in New York State, had an investigation. But I think just about everybody, the media, Democrats and Republicans, senators, assembly members, family members, are taking that with a grain of salt. Because I think we know what happened there. Those individuals were appointed by the governor, hired by the governor. The peer review people, many of them were getting funding from the state of New York and donated quite a bit of money to the executive level, to the governor of New York State. So I appreciate that investigation, but I think we should take it from here as a responsible legislative body. I appreciate the hearings coming up in August. They'll be great. But I don't think that's an outside, independent, bipartisan, nonpartisan use of subpoenas to bring people in and get the real facts. Because you know who deserves the real facts? Who deserves the real facts are the family members, the loved ones, the friends of those who lost their lives in large numbers in those long-term health care facilities, who the governor on March 12th said, you can't come and visit your loved ones. And on March 25th, I think did a disconnect and really was a part of this wildfire that took place and said, but COVID-19 patients must be accepted and you are barred from testing them to see if they still have the infection, the virus. So, my colleagues, Mr. President, I do believe this is germane. If it's not germane, you should bring another bill out, my bill out that does this, and we should just vote straight up on the bill. If we're passing a bill that provides liability, enhanced liability, which this majority gave protection from liability to those long-term health care facilities, if you're loosening that up and providing liability at some level, you should be finding out exactly what took place with the loss of all those lives. Their loved ones deserve to get some form of closure. And until we get something that's outside, independent, bipartisan, with subpoena power, I think there's going to be a lot more questions, and they don't deserve to have questions. So I would ask you and my colleagues to reconsider this appeal to provide this investigation for your constituents, for our friends and loved ones, for our family members, for the people we represent. They deserve it. Thank you, Mr. President.